Hi, and welcome back to the Warlord's Tower. Once again, we have a battle report with myself versus James and his Saurian Ancients, and this time I'm using my Warriors of the Dark God again. I'm running a similar list. It's kind of tweaked more than wholesale changes. So I've gained a couple of units, lost a couple of units. So let's start with James's deployment. So we're doing diagonal deployment. The secondary objective is getting your scoring units in the opponent's objective zone. So he starts with a unit of skirmishing skinks with poison on my right flank. Next to that is a ranked up unit of skinks with a scarvet effectively on a cold one. It's got a great weapon, a 1-up and a 4-up ward. Behind that is a Stygiosaur with the stripes, both Stygiosaurs without champions, so no balance spells there. Next over is a unit of 25 Saurus with spears, Saurians with spears. The large stomping monster to the left of that is a Stegosaurus with the big blowpipes. And behind that is a unit of ranked up skinks, a skink cohort, with a full party slam on. It can choose a lord, but he chose alchemy. So he had quite a few magic missiles and then a buff which allowed him flaming attacks, magical attacks, a couple of other things. So that'll come into play in a little while, and I'll run through the spells on the screen as you'll see. Next is another Stygiosaur, a ranked up unit of skinks in the forest, a unit of skink scouts, chameleon skinks up in front, to kind of postpone me from pushing forward too far. So, and then there's another unit of chameleon skinks. He's grown as afraid of units of fallen as I've grown fond of them. They're great units. So on my left, I've got a unit of fallen, basically hiding from his rather unpleasant magic missiles. I've got a fallen beast, so that's got the weapon skill and leadership of my demon prince. So that's 9 and 10 because I've got a true chaos, true mark of chaos demon prince. So he's leadership 10. So that's pretty good. He's obviously next over, so they're both hiding behind the hill. James on +3 to choose whether he goes first or second. Next is a unit of 20 warriors. They've got the -1 to hit banner and the demonic beast BSB. Now you might wonder why I've stuck with the -1 to hit banner, because it's pretty hopeless against this army of James's, and I knew what I was facing. It's really for tournament play. He's going to be susceptible to cannons being fired at him, and so yeah, I've stuck with it. So my demon prince has armor penetration sword. He's got a 1-off reroll on his arm save. He's obviously got fly, and he has Soul Reaper, where he can regain wounds if he does wounds in combat. But BSB has a 2-up and 4-up regen. Note regen, not ward. That comes into play a little bit later on. He's got a great weapon, and obviously he's flying around with the demonic beast. Next over is on my front is a unit of 5 trolls with my Wrath priest. I like this guy. He dispels like he is a wizard mage, wizard master, and he has a scroll. He has a great weapon. Yeah, he's a good playing piece, and he's obviously got the gift which allows him to be monstrous beast. Behind that is my Chimera in red, a unit of 5 Marauder Horsemen. In front of that is a Spawn on Lust. Now, yeah, dumb move number 1 in this battle. So I put him there in case the skink scouts came into my backfield. Obviously completely disregarding the fact that I've blocked him up and there's no way he can place his skink scouts without cheating in my backfield. So this was just a stupid move. I should have put him over my left, and then the skink scouts couldn't go over there, or even on my right would have been better. I mean, he's got a good move with 3d6 re-rolling, and yeah, just a silly move. I mean, not awful, but not great either. Anyway, to continue on, to the right of the water was 8 horsemen, and then to the right of that is another 6 fallen with a champion. Now, yeah, in list building, another silly move. I should have found points for lust on my horsemen. I don't know why. I read the rerolls to move, pursuit, charge, etc., but I didn't read that they're immune to panic, which would just be huge. I'm going to put that in my list from now on, and yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't. Now, the reason the horsemen are positioned so far forward, the 8 of them, was to charge early doors into his skinks. Now, obviously, yeah, that was a bit of a mistake on James's part. I can push them off turn 1 potentially. Anyway, we push into turn 1. Oh, the spawn, the model in the middle of the table on the ruins, is basically to remind me that he's ambushing. So I had one spawn deployed, one spawn ambushing. So James pushed forward. He brought his Stygisaur around and had to back up his skinks so that I couldn't charge them. Lucky for him, he got turn 1. Actually, I popped a 6, so even though he was +3, he could have been going second. I've had all sorts of problems with the skinks there. And then push forward, Stygisaur. He got a poor magic phase first off. Now, dumb mistake number 3 on my part. Yes, let's write in the spawn, and then he fired into the fallen on my left through the Stygisaur. So this is his plan all the way through. He's done the slam in his backfield, used the Stygisaur, which are great in their own right, but the fact that they can put spells through them even without the champion just means that he can pop spells through, magic missiles through those guys. So he said, oh yeah, I'm going to do this magic missile into your into the fallen. I said, oh yeah, I won't dispel that, I'll let that through. And then I suddenly had a rush of blood to the head and chucked my dice at and dispelled it. Shouldn't have been the worst mistake I've ever made in wargaming, but yeah, one of those silly oddities, just starting the game and not really paying attention. So I then had no dice. He then cast 2d6, strength 2, armor piercing 3, hits into my 8 horsemen and killed 6 of them. So I think he did 8 hits and just hit an absolute ton of 6s. They get no save because they're -3 armor penetration. Salt into the wounds, I then fail my panic test and they break and they're gone. So they're then rallying on a 4 because they're down below strength. So yeah, bad start. So one, I mean, it shouldn't have cost me too bad, and it cost me a lot worse than it did. And then on top of that, yeah, to fail the panic test was just laughable at that stage. So dice started pretty badly. Basically, I have played against Slan with lots and lots of skink units a number of times in 8th edition, and there's one plan, and it's push forward, and it's don't take the charges early because he's going to flee and come back at you, flee and come back at you. So I basically, there's a cold one, Scarvet has moved out of the Uranosaurus, and he's the 1-up, 5-up. So there's another Saurus, that wasn't on his deployment, wasn't clear. He's moved up behind the ruins, so he's sneaking through there. He can obviously move through the ruins in spite of them looking big and imposing. And he fights pretty well, but I'm still pretty happy. I've just chosen to ignore the shooting of the skinks and just push up full on towards them. So the Fallen, the Blood Beast is the big red dragony model, and the Demon Prince have all pushed forward. None of them declared charges, so they couldn't be fled. The Warriors moved forward 8, i.e. their max move, and the Trolls with the Wrath Priest moved in behind that. Unfortunately, obviously, the Spawn, the Fallen Beast, tucks in behind. The Riders move over the barbarian horsemen, there's still the 5 left, push forward, and the chimera. Yeah, just to cause Terratas potentially swooping over the top there. It's a bit of a mistake. I should have flown towards the Demon Prince to get within that leadership 10 bubble. I just forgot that he's not in towering, and therefore it's not 18. I know he's not at this stage, but my intention was to get within 18 with my next move. And it's obviously that's not good enough. I need to be within 8. So yeah, mistake again. The other movement was my fallen on the right. I pushed them into James's dice pile over in the corner. Basically, I knew he wanted to go after them. He's got 2 units of skinks. He's got a Stygisaur. They're relatively easy points that he can basically. I can't do a lot about them. By putting them in the corner, I minimise the amount he can get out of the way with his movement while still shooting me. And if he does want to come and get me with his Stygisaur or his Scarvet even, they're well out of the way of the rest of the game. So it's basically sticking them over there. The Fallen are shouting, chase me. I'm just seeing if he takes the bait. So it basically puts me, to my mind, in a win-win position. Either he comes after me and I get a chance of killing him or taking a few wounds off, but more likely it just takes expensive models of his out of the game. If I push forward with the Fallen, he's just gonna kill them. James takes off a couple of the Fallen with some poison shooting. He was going to do his breath weapon into the Demon Prince, but I thought it was 8 inches, James thought it was 12 inches, and it turned out to be 6-inch range, so yeah, that wasn't going to happen. I charge into the skink cohort, running the fence. I chaff up the Scarvet with the Marauder Horseman and the Chimera, and the warriors push forward to threaten his block of Saurian. So there's a Stygisaur there. I don't mind him sticking that in the way to chaff me up. I'm pretty sure the Chimera takes out the Stygisaur. I'm 100% sure the warriors or the trolls will take it out. So yeah, I'm pretty confident about this middle section. As regards how we fight, the problem is to try and get across models left to threaten his left flank, try and push through and threaten that Quattle or Slam. So in the middle, my Demon Prince Max moves forward, the Blood Beast similar, and then the Fallen goes stand in front of the Stegodon. I'm fully aware they're going to be taken off, but that just stops him putting it into the flank. At this point, I was under the misinterpretation that the impact hits from the Stegodon do D3 wounds, but yeah, I've given the Stygisaur a reasonably long flank charge. He's put his Scarvet on Cold One back into the unit of Saurians, so there's kind of a funny horned head on the right as we look at it at the Saurians. So, I mean, it's still a pretty juicy unit, the Saurians, but my Demon Prince is threatening them. I'm reasonably happy at this point. I mean, there's a ton of points floating around, but I'm pushing through pretty confidently at this stage. Trolls make a mess of the skink cohort and break them. Nobody panics. The Spawn moved on behind the skink cohort. I'm under no illusions that he will still be there for me to charge his slam, but I'm just trying to make the play that he's got to do something. I've got to keep that slam moving. I've got to make him not play the game he wants to play, but make him play the game I want to play. So he puts the Cold One into the Marauder Horseman on my right. The skinks come around to shoot at my Fallen Beast. The trolls we chose not to pursue the skinks because I didn't really flank charged by the Stygisaur, and then they run double one and rally, so they're all of 2 inches away, just the other side of the fence. It kind of sums up this game that I choose not to pursue things quite frequently, and we'll see how that goes. So the Stygisaur comes forward to breath weapon the Chimera. The Stegodon makes a triumphal charge into the 2 Fallen. There's not a lot else he can do. He's just going to get chaffed up and chaffed up. He may as well take him out, so he pushes him into that. The Cold One passes its stupidity on a reroll and flies forward, makes its charge into the Fallen Beast, and Stygisaur does the same. Now, James is pretty confident about smashing me in this situation. I'm reasonably happy. The Stygisaur fights but doesn't fight brilliantly. The Cold One guy goes after me, and yeah, he has potential to make a real mess of me, but I don't mind this combat. It's all good. The Slam pops out of the unit of Cohort, who turn around to face the Spawn, and he goes into the Skink Cohort, so making him much more mobile. The Saurian obviously can't charge because this Cold One block popped out. Back up a little bit with the big blocks and the Chimera facing them. There's still only a 8 on the dice for the Chimera, and it's also for the Demon Prince. Yeah, the combat between the Cold One, the Stygisaur, and the Blood Beast. Apologise if I keep calling it a Fallen Beast. It's a Blood Beast, the dragon-y looking thing. Great model from Lord of the Rings. Not sure if Games Workshop still make it. It's a great model, so I'll be using that as a Blood Beast or several other things. I assume it's great dragon type model. Anyway, the combat works that he's obviously got charge flank. His Slam is the BSB, so the Cold One in the front isn't the BSB. Unleash weapon skill 9, so he's hitting on 5s with the Stygisaur. He didn't do anything with his breath weapon. I did 4 wounds on him, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, and I think he's got 6 upstage. So I popped through 4 wounds. Got hatred as well, so 6 attacks, hatred, and strength 6 of weapon skill 9. That's pretty good. So it ends up a drawn combat. And obviously we stick around. The Cold One did fluff a couple of attacks, but he's only hitting on 4, so it's not all that uncommon. But yeah, 1 round that you'll miss those attacks. The Spawn obviously almost auto into the Skinks. They can't flee because of the random move. Turns out that works out as interesting combat. The Demon Prince goes into the flank of the Saurus. I missed with 3 out of 5 attacks. Roll a 2 for my Thunder Stomp, just about scraping to winning combat there, and they hold. I mean, not surprisingly, 10 cold blooded on the reroll. This Fallen Beast, a Blood Beast gets taken out, the Cold One doesn't whiff. I decide to put 4 out of my 4 out of 6 attacks into the Stygisaur. It's got 1 wound left, 3s and 3s, and then a 6 for a save. Should easily do it. Get through my 2 wounds. James pops double 6. The Stygisaur stays around holding a heap of points and a threat as well. Allows the Cold One to reform after he kills the Blood Beast. So at this point, I tried to charge the Chimera into the flank of the Saurus, and nothing happens. I fail my 8 Swift Stride. That means he can put his Cold One Scarvet into the rear of my Chimera, who's leadership 4, because he's out of bubble. Woohoo, I've got a reroll, but that's going to end badly. The Skinks versus the Spawn. I go in, I do 2 wounds. I've got charge, and they hold. So James is like, oh, they're only Skinks, that's not a big issue. But I'm like, well, if they break, yeah, I pursue them and catch them. That then frees up the Fallen to move through, threaten the Stygisaur, threaten the Scarvet, or just to chaff them up, just to keep them out of the game. So to my mind, it was a huge swing, those Skinks sticking around. Me failing my charge with the Warriors allows him to put Skinks in the way. And he charged the Scarvet into the other Scarvet charged into the flank, so that's behind the ruins. is a Scarvet gone into the Warriors. The Scarvet beats the is beaten pretty soundly by the Warriors and breaks. He took 2 wounds. The BSB came across with his great weapon, and unsurprisingly, he's the guy who did the 2 wounds. So he flees. Now this allows me to reform and let the BSB threaten the Slans unit. He fled out of max charge distance. James, I think, expected me to charge the Scarvet and push him out of the way, but the Stegodon threatening the flank of my Demon Prince, I decided to put him in there instead. So yeah, with no impact hits, I'm pretty confident in that combat. The Warriors have kind of left out in the open, but the other Scarvet has overrun into impassable terrain. So he's pretty safe at that point. So we've got a situation where I've got a Stygisaur running around on 1 wound. I've got my Demon Prince very slowly chewing his way through the Saurian warriors. Basically, I didn't roll better than a 2 for my Thunderstomp, and I didn't roll more than 3 hits. I normally rolled 2 hits, 2 Thunderstomps. I was taking on 4 a turn. It wasn't fast enough. I wasn't taking any wounds, and those I was taking, I was tending to get back with the 4-up roll because I was killing 1 or 2 with the Soul Reaper. So I was staying in the combat, but I wasn't killing them fast enough that I could turn around and threaten the Slan, which, I mean, was obviously the name of the game. If you're wondering why I'm so intent on killing the Slan, he holds BSB General and is effectively worth over 1,000 points in himself. So he's worth killing. He's worth, I think, one of the Scarvets and the unit Saurian all on his own. And if I'm threatening the Slan, James is having to sell units, just put them in the way and just allow them to be taken off just to keep the Slan alive. So that's why I'm so intent on killing them. At this point, I'm quite keen to keep the Stygisaur away from the combat and to threaten him. So my thought was to run the Rat Priest out and threaten the Stygisaur. Now, I'm pretty sure James is just going to run away, but again, I want to force him to keep moving away from me rather than him allowed to control the pace of the game. So the Trolls are going to fail stupidity and wander forward, but they're a scoring unit that are pushing into James's deployment zone, so they're actually doing their job even while being stupid. So I'm reasonably happy with that. And they're walking towards the Demon Prince, even if they are stupid. So eventually they're going to walk into a leadership 10 bubble, presumably. So I'm reasonably happy with that. They couldn't reform anyway, so the best way to get the most movement out of them was to run over here. The Scarvet facing impassable terrain is out of the game for a turn. The other Scarvet has fled and it's only got 1 wound left, so he's out of the game. So basically I'm beating up the Stegodon. The Skinks down here with the Stygisaur are well out of the way, so he's out of leadership and BSB bubble, and his Skinks have got a decent amount of movements to keep me away. So I'm reasonably happy still at this stage, even though my Demon Prince isn't doing his job and punching guys in the face fast enough. So yeah, the Stygisaur was charged by the Warriors and fled and rallied on the table edge. The Spawn wandered in front of the Fallen. The BSB breaks the Stegodon, which runs off and is on the edge of the table. This then panics the Skink cohort. They can't use the BSB or General because he's fleeing. So they run off the table. The BSB then will reform to face the Skinks. So yeah, at this point I realised my mistake of having him with a 4-up regen rather than a ward. James got a ton of flaming magic. So yeah, I've used my scroll, but I'm praying for a magic phase that favours me in some respect. Oh, that said, James has previously 666 to spell, which did literally nothing to his unit. He failed all the wounds on his Skink unit. So yeah, that was pretty annoying as well, considering he could easily have got the Skink unit down to a very manageable number. So yeah, At this point, he's got a Scarbet to rally, which is outside of bubble, no reroll, no added leadership. So, okay, it's cold-blooded, but definitely failable. He's got 2 skink units, which are kind of doing a job, but they've got a march move to be really effective. So, yeah, let's see what happens. So, both skink units pass their march test. That allows him to block the warriors with one and BSB with the other. Scarvet rallies, the other Scarvet moves round. The Slan obviously rallies, turns to face me. Sigisaur at the top runs into the spawn. Yeah, I was quite confident chipping a couple of wounds off, but yeah, probably a good move by James. The Slan turns around and he rolls enough dice that he can cast 3 spells. I keep my mouth shut. That I've told him he's got a regen, but hoping that he casts anything but magic missiles into my BSB, and obviously he doesn't. Takes him off very quickly. I think the first spell does it, and that's the end of his magic phase. But the BSB was in a really good position. At this point, James tells me, the first time I thought about it, that putting wings on your Demon Prince, yeah, it's a great idea. Or flying for anyone is a great asset, but it makes them like troops. So that Saurus unit that I thought I have to kill 3 to break their steadfast because of my monster rank, I've got to actually kill something like 8 still, 7, because yeah, I don't count as having a rank, so that makes me less happy, but I'm like, well, my dice have got to come good at some point. Still not rolled above a 2 for my Thunderstorm, still not rolled above 3 hits. In fact, every turn apart from one, I'd rolled 2 hits, so I've killed a maximum of 4 Saurus a turn, which, yeah, is pretty poor as far as I'm concerned. You hope to get 1. I think they've been in combat of 5 rounds at this point. My warriors are trying to face off against Chameleon Skinks. He puts a Stygisaur behind the hill, which is the better option to get him killed, but he's kind of done his job. He's kept the Stygisaur from being uber chaff or God forbid, actually killing some stuff. He then charges the Stygisaur into the Fallen. I'm reasonably confident the Fallen might chop him up. I think he's taken 2 wounds at this point. Super Chaff, the Stegodon moves, rallies and moves up. Or rallied last turn, moves up, stands in the way. The Scarvets, however, charge. He's risking 1 or 2 wounds. That's the guy with the 1 up and 5 up. And then he's got the guy with the 1 up and 4 up in the front. So at this point, I'm like, well, I could challenge and keep guys alive longer, but he hasn't got enough attacks to chew through me fast enough. So I'm just going to pile all my attacks in and try and chip off a couple of wounds. I think it was 7 rounds of combat. The Demon Prince finally kills the Saurus, but I can't even kill the wall. I leave 1 alive. The standard stood there alive. He's holding 500 points, and basically I could chase the Slan around, but he's just going to stick him in the corner and not play, and there's no way I can catch him. So after not chasing down a Scarbet with the BSB, or with the Warriors rather, and also not running after a few other things in the name of trying to catch the Slan, I decided this is the time, and I chased the Saurians down, which gets me 500 points, which is definitely worth it. Possibly unsurprisingly, but strength 4 Warriors managed to stick around with their parry and their 3-up save, but yeah, they don't do any wounds to the Scarvet. I would have been particularly pleased if they managed to chip a wound on the 1. They don't even manage to get any break tests. In the first round of combat, 2 ranks standard actually keeps me in it, but yeah, nothing doing there. The Wrath Priest pushes up, can't really threaten a lot, but was trying to keep the skink unit out of the way. The Stygisaur at the top, the Stygisaur chews through a lot of the Warriors, the Fallen, but I managed to chip another wound on him, but not enough. And yeah, he finishes them off with his D3 Thunderstomp. The Scarvets continue to chew through the Warriors, but I've got a leadership 10 break test. But the way the dice have gone, James every time he's got a key dice roll, the march blocks on to block up my beard's blade, to block up my warriors. He makes the key roll with the horseman in the first turn. He diced really badly, but just every time he gets bad dice, it's just enough to hit the roll. Every time I have bad dice, it decimates a unit. It's just one of those games, unfortunately. So the combat with the Scarvets is pretty much a draw, and with that the game comes to an end. Now, the good news from my point of view is I've got 2 scoring units in his deployment zone, and he's got no scoring units alive, so I hold the secondary objective. It works out that he's actually got quite a few points up on me. There was 1 horseman running away holding his points, and the frustrating thing from my point of view is I've been very close to charging the Slan. I declared a charge on the Slan and he'd fled to just far enough away. I left a Scarvet on 1 wound, I left a Stygisaur on 1 wound, and I think the Stygisaur at the top is on 2 wounds. It was all very much a story of almost breaking units, almost running down units. So it was a frustrating game from a dice point of view for me. It did make me think, when you leave units on 1 or 2 wounds, if you haven't got any significant shooting, actually haven't any shooting at all, if you don't have any magic, it's very hard to reach out and just chip that extra wound off. My army is fast, generally, but against a good player, monsters and skirmishers and single characters can whip round and mean you can't charge them. So, I mean, other than my Chimera's breath weapon, which isn't a great breath weapon, strength 4, no AP, it's very hard to do anything like that. So I love my Wrath Priest. I think he's a great addition to the army, but if you're taking wizards, do you really need him? Does he add enough? Are you better off just taking an anointed into that unit? So I think I need to consider putting a wizard into the unit of some description, just to allow me that reach out and hit things. I think the only decent shooting in the Warriors list is a Hellscream Cannon, and that is 400 points of not a Chimera, so I just think the Chimera is a much better option. I like my Spawn or Fallen Beasts, especially with Ambush and Lust, to allow them to run after things. The current New Zealand meta, from what I've seen, there's a lot of chaff running around, fleeing and coming back and fleeing and double fleeing. So I just think having Spawn, stopping that, especially if you use them right and don't stick them in your backfield like I did, allows you to just control that game. War Machines with them ambushing and coming on the back, they'll beat up a War Machine very easily, or certainly being unbreakable will surprisingly hold it up. So I like that aspect of things. I'm reluctant to drop the Demonic Beast guy because I like the model so much, and that might also be the Wrath Priest situation as well. I'm wondering if I can look at taking some Once Chosen as a unit as well. But yeah, it was the story of almost was this game. It was another great game against James. Hopefully you've enjoyed it enough to want to subscribe, like, and certainly comment either in the YouTube comments below. I'll check those. But I'm on Twitter at Warlock's Tower. Search for at Warlock's Tower and I'll come up. And then you can go to warlockstower.com and all the contact details are on there. So hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you want to see more of. I'm hoping to pick up a Vermin Swarm army tomorrow, so I'm pretty sure they'll be on the channel pretty soon. So yeah, keep watching.